There's not a day that goes by that I don't hear the concerns of the residents in my district that are complaining about the cost of health care. The legislation that we have before us is named after a young girl named Dream Shepherd, whom unfortunately was born with sickle cell disease. And at the age of 5 years old, she experienced a stroke. And in an effort to save her life, she underwent experimental treatment of a stem cell transplant. Miraculously, that ultimately has saved her life, and she's in remission. But it was a long journey since that operation and since she was discharged from the hospital. In the hospital, she was hooked up to a central venous line, which in New York State, only a registered nurse can touch the central venous line. Once she's discharged from the hospital, the doctor is saying, you need that central venous line, but however, you're on your own. The legislation that we passed, and we're now amending this year, said that when you're discharged from the hospital, the doctor prescribes a remedy that has to be covered by insurance. What was happening in Dream's case was her mother was responsible for monitoring and cleaning and maintaining the central venous line. Unfortunately, every year in the United States, over 80,000 Americans develop a bloodstream infection because their central venous line is not well maintained. Out of those 80,000 people, approximately 28,000 pass away. They die from that serious infection. We know that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And that's how we have to think about healthcare. That we could provide this state-of-the-art procedure, have the best doctors in the world in the hospital, but once you're discharged, if we don't follow the plan that the doctor has put in place, then we're falling apart. And we know that by mandating that the insurance companies and not the bureaucrat or the insurance companies have to follow the doctor's orders, we will save lives, improve our healthcare system, and make it stronger. So the legislation before us today expands Dream's law and says that not only central venous lines will have to be maintained by a professional, but any of the procedures that a doctor requires in that discharge will have to be covered under insurance. This is a step in the right direction in lowering the cost of healthcare and making sure that we have better outcomes overall. I want to thank Dream Shepherd and her mother for fighting and pushing forward and saying what was wrong and fixing the system for everyone that will come after them. Thank you so much for all my colleagues for supporting this legislation. Let's continue to work together to lower the price of healthcare here in New York State, and let's be a model for the rest of the nation to follow. Thank you, Mr. President.